Is there intelligent alien life? And if so, has the government been covering it up?
What's going on, everyone? Tonight, we are going to follow up with this whole New Jersey drone thing. And I think we have been kind of correct from the start. I know in the first video, we were a little bit more speculative as what they're, what they are and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, we've kind of, all three of us have been on the side that these aren't alien. They're not ET. It's coming from our own government, and it's still up in the air as to what that is. But there's been a lot of updated news, if lack of better term, that basically there's something, these are drones and technology that we're not fully, made aware of or decompartmentalized to, but I think us three have kind of all been on the same page that it's not alien, it's not ET. That's been a psyop from the start. That's really what we've been talking about from the beginning, and that they are searching for something. Now, before we start playing a couple clips that we have lined up, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it's basically more in line that we have been searching for something, and we've kind of all said that, right?
Well, the narrative has been that it's either some type of practice trial run thing, testing the equipment for if this situation like that were to happen, or it's the actual real thing and it's happening. I've heard both things. So
Right.
yes, something's going on. It's either there is actual material lost somewhere and they're trying to get it before it's used for nefarious purposes, or it's a practice run for exercises.
And I'm going to cut in here and say that the narrative has shifted from what are these things? Are they aliens? To there's been a missing nuclear warhead, and or missing nuclear material, right, within the states. Steezo, do you have anything to kind of say about this before I play the video?
Yeah, no, I think we've been since the beginning. We've all been on the same page. That I think right out the gate with what we were seeing, we kind of were mocking the whole incident in the beginning because we were seeing pictures of clearly airplanes, helicopters, commercial flights and stuff, and it was almost like we were being trolled. And then we were saying, "Oh, that's not it." But yeah, we've never really thought that this was any sort of
that was pretty
terrestrial stuff. To
disingenuous, man. They were all over that shit.
They're trying to debunk it, basically.
Well,
so.
and we've been kind of,
there's a big difference between the two things.
We're not experts, but we've kind of been shitting on accounts that have been talking about how alien invasion, all this other stuff. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, be logical about the situation. Yeah. Even though I think some of the footage that we've looked at looks like planes, we understand that they're not, right? But at the end of the day,
clearly some type of drone.
Yeah, exactly. It's some type of drone, but also some of that video footage was, in my opinion, looked like either fabricated or just like a plane up in the sky. Right. And then as things started to develop, we started to agree that this specific video looked a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to play this video for you guys, and we'll kind of discuss it after.
Information has not been forthcoming, and it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men, and more than likely it's not a foreign adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the White House telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house, yet they continue to tell us We don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly, there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place.
All right. So Bethany Frankel, I know she's not like, the New York Times, but she says that she has like some kind of contact at the Pentagon and that it has something to do with radioactive material in New Jersey. What are you hearing?
So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying.
So I'm going to pause it just there for a quick minute. That's very important that he's outwardly saying this. This is the mayor of New Jersey, I believe, and basically reiterating what we just said. This is us, like it's not Alien, it's not ET. And before we kind of dive into it, I'm just going to let it play out
In a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and was empty. So potentially we're looking
stop
for
right
that.
there, Mayor, because that's very important information. And that came from a credible source.
That came from the U.S. government.
And so it's missing.
Missing.
And they think it's in New Jersey or it could be anywhere.
It was lost in New Jersey in transit. And again, this is just an example of what I think that we're sniffing for. I think we do have the assets that can go up and fly around and sniff things, which is why we're not seeing the uptick we used to see in Belleville anymore. It's kind of moving, but we're seeing alerts that it's happening now in Pennsylvania.
And that's right about the time that the drone sightings began, right?
Yeah, drone sightings began about 4 weeks ago.
Okay. So when
so I'm gonna pause it there. From my understanding, all the stuff started once the Manchester, UK orb landed in the airport, correct?
Around the same time, yes.
Yeah.
Which I find very fascinating that it starts over the Atlantic, right, and then ends up here in our side of the ocean, right? Like there's something very odd, and why would it not?
Well, it came from supposedly on the East Coast. It had to have come from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to highlight that. Let me
look at
finish
this.
out this clip.
If this information is indeed credible, why wouldn't the government say it's us?
That's the crazy part about this. We've gotten very little information. Even yesterday on that call with the White House, literally mayors were told, you guys are seeing things. There's no credibility to this. We have one mayor, like I said, had drones over his house. I mean, we're no longer going to stand for not hearing the truth. I mean, our state government is failing us. They're not getting the answers from the federal government. And even though yesterday they told us that there's nothing to see here, today there's a top secret briefing going on in Congress. Well, what are they being told that we weren't told yesterday?
Real quick, did you know yesterday when you were on that call about this missing radioactive activity or merchandise, or did you know that this morning after the call?
I was made aware of it yesterday morning. I did raise my hand. We weren't allowed to speak. I did raise my hand, was not called on to get that question answered.
So apparently it is concerning even the president-elect, who I'm sure.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there. And before you guys step in, I want to reiterate that on the last video, I'd said that from the start, I've felt that this is an NGO, a non-government organization, being funded from the government, which we know is not even a conspiracy theory that happens. So I think, I still think to this day that they are searching for some nuclear material. And I know that you have to have boots on the ground to actually pick up on the radioactivity of this material, whether it's a missing, in quotations, a missing nuclear warhead, or just, uranium, like pure uranium, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that these drones that they don't know what they are actually from companies like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Vanguard. I'm forgetting the other couple ones. But regardless, I think these are companies that are known for supplying and also manufacturing military assets without having to deal with all of the bullshit that comes with being part of the actual government and military. And I think that is backed up with ample amounts of information based off of just, our past as a country.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's really a conspiracy at all that this happens. They influence our media, they influence, our military, and they influence our just day-to-day choices as a government itself. It's kind of vague, but at the same time, I feel like there's more than enough to back that up, right? So
So why do you think that? Why do you think that if it's something harmless as it's not necessarily harmless, but I mean, I think it's pretty fair to assume the public wouldn't necessarily freak out if they were just told that just some nuclear material got lost. It's not a big deal. It can't be weaponized. Blah blah blah. They're just looking for it, right?
well,
Opposed to completely closed lip, not a single word, everything's
so
being kept a secret. So that kind of makes it seem like there's something more serious going on because they're not willing to. Not only are they not willing to talk about it, but they're actively denying that anything's really even
so
happening.
so one thing to back up what I was saying before is that, and then to answer your question as well, is that I think the reason why the compartmentalism is not being properly expressed is that these companies don't need to abide to any type of obligation of transparency,
Yeah,
right?
but if Trump is out there saying, that the military knows about it, this and that, I I don't know, man. It's an interest. I don't know. It's just weird.
No,
It's really weird.
and I didn't mean to put out a non-answer, but I think that's important to highlight the fact that
I think you're right. It does. Lockheed Martin and all those, you know, they're definitely probably involved. You know what I mean? But
it points to that direction because
I
here
think our
you have
government knows more
well,
about it than what they're letting off
yeah,
with.
and Trump had a statement that we're about to play, but like, you have local law enforcement not understanding what this is.
Oh
You
yeah,
have military
they're not gonna tell
coming
you.
out saying that they have no idea what this is. And then you have the government saying that they, and we're going to show right now that President-elect Trump is saying that like we do know what it is. They're just not telling you. That to me, everything speaks to the fact that this is not everyone in the government and the military is being declassified to it,
For
right?
sure,
That
for
like
sure.
that
I
there's
agree with you 100% there.
yeah, and that's really the main point I'm trying to drive home here. Stizo, I'd like to know what your
Yep.
thoughts are on
Yeah,
this.
the left hand ain't talking to the right hand, and I mean,
Yeah,
it's funny because like they always talk about how you know how people say some people say you can't trust Trump. He lies a lot. Clearly, he's basically like coming out and saying, "Hey, look, they know what's going on. I've been debriefed.
Hmm.
It's time just go ahead and tell people what it is. They can handle it. The
Yep.
government says what it's not, and they say there's no reason to worry about it. Then just
Right.
tell us what it is. Why the big
Right.
secrecy? The only thing I can think of is that maybe because just the way they're being, that is a issue where it was some sort of missing sort of like radioactive material or whatever, and they don't want adversaries to know our procedures or know that we have the technology to do that. I don't know, but it just seems silly that, or if it's really just a bunch of people that a group that got together, kind of like a bunch of I guess you'd say drone enthusiasts that want to do base their hacking or whatever, and to just do that, then you made your point. Move on and just let them know, like, hey,
right.
uh, you're freaking people out because people are generally
Right.
scared.
People want to know. Yeah,
Yeah,
people want to know,
and you
and
need to
they're
stop. And if you don't, you will be. We're going to pass some laws to say, hey, that you
mhm,
guys do like these massive flights and stuff, and you don't
yeah,
announce it or whatever. Then we're going to go ahead and there's going to be criminal charges or something. But
yeah.
just,
That's what gets me. There's something clearly going on here, clearly, and everybody
Yeah.
sees it, and for whatever reason, the people aren't being told anything, and it's
Well,
just
and
makes me feel like there's something a little bit more serious to whatever it is that's going on.
And Chris, to just kind of take your point and back it up with mine, like I think that is more of a reason why I think it has something to do with non-government organizations.
Yeah.
That it's organizations that don't need to abide to our laws, and they're private companies, and they can just go out and do what they want. And then in a situation like this, if there were, allegedly some nuclear material or a nuclear warhead that's in the States that they don't want to cause mass hysteria, it's almost like a domino effect. Or maybe that's not the right terminology, but like they don't want to cause mass hysteria by announcing it, but then they deploy, they give the go ahead to a company like Lockheed Martin, Vanguard, BlackRock, who have been making this shit, to be like, okay, go ahead and put this out, find what we're looking for, don't tell anyone, but it ends up shooting them in the foot, right? So that's kind of where I stand on this. I think we all agree. I'm going to play this next clip by President-elect Trump, and I think it's pretty telling to exactly what we're saying.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big distance. The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth.
So I think the first half of that clip pretty much confirms what we were talking about. And then that last little bit, he's talking about the enemy. He doesn't think it's the enemy. There's something I want to touch on, and we don't have anything to show for it, but China has, and I'll be completely transparent, we're recording this on Thursday the 19th. All of the stuff we showed was coming from the 17th and the 16th earlier this week of December, and we are a few days behind, but I think it's important because around that time, China had come out and said that they have a very important message on to be Friday, which is tomorrow, the 20th of December. And, I find it very odd that they want to make a world announcement talking about how it's going to change the world and all this other stuff. And I don't think I really don't think these drones in New Jersey are of China, but I do believe that we're going to start seeing a little, like, now that they've seen this overseas, that we're dealing with this phenomenon, that they're going to come out and say that, and we've seen videos of them, not them, but their capabilities of drones. I think they're going to come out and say, and look, it's full tinfoil hat over here. I believe that there are some sort of back engineering going on, right?
Right.
So
all sides. I agree on all sides. They're probably just going to throw their 2 cents in on the whole issue, and they might have some idea of what we might be announcing soon, or might be going. You know what I mean? So they're trying to jump the gun and get ahead of us on it.
Stezo, any thoughts, brother?
No, that's, you pretty much covered it all right there. We're kind of just echoing what we all think. I think it's kind of right there in your face what needs to be done and stuff. My friend did bring something up to me yesterday. We were talking about it. He's big into drones, uses drones and stuff like that. And he was coming from an angle that I hadn't really thought of or considered, and he thinks that this could be some sort of like he came short of saying a colonial psyop, but essentially that's what it is, in a way to possibly regulate drones more. for like how people use them, personal use and stuff, and to put more restrictions on them and put that on FAA because he says there's been a lot of complaints about invasion of privacy with drones flying over private properties and stuff like that. What's considered your space? Is it just your domicile and your property that's on the ground, or like flying over your house? You know what I mean, hovering there.
Well, okay. Well, look at like people that own land in places
Yeah.
like Texas and California. You don't own the land under you. So if the government or if you find oil, the government can just come fucking take that oil and say, well, you own the land. You don't own what's under the land, right?
Right.
And same thing with space above you, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, you might own the land. You don't own the air above you, right? And so there's something
right.
like that going on. This could also be a soft punch by the government saying, kind of being like, yeah, we acknowledge that the technology that you're aware of only fits in a certain frame of your understanding, but we're actually here, doing it's another theory. Another thing that I'd kind of like to touch on before we wrap this up is have you guys seen anything about people's personal drones being sent up and then being shut down
Yeah.
and or not being
Yes.
able to be lifted
Yes.
off? I'd
I
like to
just
kind of
sent
know what
I
you
just
think
sent
about.
you something. I just sent you something.
Yeah, that's really weird because that is what. Well, not just that, but did you know that I was telling you they're using them in Ukraine right now. These devices where they can shoot down these drones using kind of like it's basically just point at it, has like a radar dish on it, and it'll disrupt the frequency, and the drones will just start dropping out of the sky. Well, they tried to use those out here. Law enforcement did. They got some lent from the military, and it didn't work.
Yeah, these things are they said they're unjammable. They're
Yeah.
the
Which means
frequency
they
can't be
pre-program.
messed with.
Some of I find it oddly convenient, right? That some these videos start coming out that they can't. It's also very easy to fake, like right when it comes to trying to send your personal drone up there. I haven't seen one compelling video really addressing that. That like all I see is people trying to put their drones up and they don't work. But I find that again kind of convenient. This is what you sent me. I'm going to read this off real quick. The Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) has temporarily banned drone operations over parts of New Jersey until mid-January, warning that the government may respond with deadly force in quotations against drones posing a threat. Beginning today and lasting through January 17th, unmanned aircraft are prohibited from flying within a 1 nautical mile radius of specific airspace outlined in FAA notice to airmen, NOTAM. According to the FAA, the government may use deadly force if a drone presents an imminent security threat, as stated by the NOTAM. And this has been going around, and I'm actually glad you sent this to me to post because I think it's obviously important to acknowledge. But at the end of the day, this should have been done a month ago.
Right.
Agree or disagree, guys? Because I feel like this is almost again throwing the government throwing people like us a bone and acknowledging that we have valid points. But,
Well,
like,
you
why do it now? We've been at this for weeks, right?
well, there's something obviously going on where they don't want any other aircraft in the air except for theirs. So I mean, that's all. Like I can't tell you why,
Yeah,
but
for sure,
it just seems awkward, man.
for sure.
That
No,
doesn't really add up.
I don't disagree in any way. It's just I find it odd that they're just now doing this. Like the Biden administration should have put a red flag on this area and this topic immediately once they started popping this up, which only further pushes the point that I've been trying to drive home that this is probably a non-government organization and their technology that we've been funding, yet they don't have to declassify anything to the military. So
Right. Exactly.
Well, all right, gentlemen. As always, I appreciate you guys for showing up. I thought, again, this is a great conversation that we've had. And if you guys, for those who are watching, have made it this far, also appreciate you equally. And I hope all of you have a great night.
Later.
Later, guys.